Now, we will discuss certain points on the chapter 11, that is on claims. Claims, what is a claim? Claim is the liability of the insurers to pay as per the terms of the contract. Basically, insurance is contract and some contract has been entered into. So, insurer is to pay his liability on the happening of the event, contingent on the duration of human life. What is that? Maybe that he has died. Maybe that he is alive till the end of the term. So, claim will be paid as per the terms of the contract. Now, claims may be of three types. You know it very well. One is death claim, another is maturity claim, and another is survival benefits together with rider payments. Not only always rider payments are there. If person enters into the contract with a rider, only then rider payment comes into the picture. Now, what about death claim? If death happens, at least somebody should intimate the company that death has taken place. And who is going to take action for that? Maybe nominee is going to intimate. Maybe his legal heirs is going to intimate. Maybe agent himself, or even the company may learn it from the newspaper cuttings also. So, you can understand that when death intimation arrives the company, now it is the company's turn to fulfill the contract. What he will do? He will first of all ask for certain papers. Papers which are relevant for death claims. Say, proof of death. Say, proof of title. Proof of age. And if it is normal death, then naturally nothing more is required. But remember, my dear friend, there is a guideline from the IRDA that claims should be settled as early as possible to protect the interest of the policyholders. So, what happens? Remember, guideline is to be stuck for. Unless he obeys the guidelines, then penal measures may come on the insurers as well. If any additional information is required, then what will happen? At least within 15 days, the company should ask the claimants that what are the information, this is the information required, please comply us within 15 days. So that early action on death claim can be taken. So, if it is not settled within 1 month, then further action may come on the company. Further penal measures may be imposed on the company. What is that? Not only the bank rate, but bank rate, interest of bank rate plus 2%. That means 2% above the bank rate interest, company has to pay to the claimant. And what happens? Even if they, that means nominee or legal heirs, are delaying to submit that requirements. In case of final decision, when decision has been arrived, but the nominee has not arrived to the company to receive that thing, even then, for that delayed part, company should pay the bank rate, interest on the bank rate. Now, my dear friend, these are the guidelines that have been given on the company. In case of early death, that we have discussed somewhere, that is, what is early death? Say, 3 years, within 3 years of commencement of the risk, if death takes place, it is termed as early death. Naturally, suspicions arises on the part of the insurer whether there was any fraud or any concealment or any misrepresentation on the part of the insured. So, investigation is necessary. But there are IRDA guidelines that even if investigation is there, not more than 6 months can be taken for that count. That is why insured's protection is there, policyholders' protection is assured. So, in this claim area, we must be very particular on these things. Now, in case of some abnormal deaths, say from some road accident has taken place, or somebody has fallen from somewhere, or something has been taken. First thing that must be eliminated, that is, it should not be a suicide within 1 year of the commencement of the policy. If that happens, then there is a suicide clause for which the claimant would not get the claim amount. Suicide thus precludes payment of claim because it is the intention, it becomes the intention of the insured or proposer or whatever you call policyholder to defraud the insurance company. So, excepting suicide, in other abnormal death, what happens? First information report from the police is required. Second, coroner's report, that is also required. That may be required. Third one, other police inquest report is also necessary. In case it is a death in village area, then panchayat's report is also necessary. Post-mortem report, forensic report, so many reports may be necessary in order to settle the claim. So, in case of abnormal claims, some more time may be required, but remember, there is that stipulated time of 1 month is always applicable on all the insurance companies. Now, what happens in case when a policy holder is missing? It is a real trouble. Unless there is death certificate, nobody can pay the claim. How an insurance company can pay the claim without death certificate? So, in case of a missing person, company gives a direction that at least 7 years a person has to wait, so that the person who is not heard of or not seen by those who have heard him or seen him, they should take time for 7 years, and after that only appeal may be given to the court to get their order that he may be presumed to be dead. Only presumption of death can entitle the nominees or legal heirs to get the claim amount. But one thing you must remember, my dear friend, till the court order is issued, premium is to be continued. Because when you get the claim, the status of this policy is very much important. Unless it is enforced at the time of getting the claim order, then claim amount will not be payable. What others? Which case? Maybe there are some cases where fraud has crept in. When fraud is found that it is doubtless that fraud has taken place, then definitely the claim amount will not be paid. There may be some mistakes. If it is of innocent time, say age, or there is some mistake of age, say for 1 or 2 years, then company can pay the claim only just adjusting the premium together with the interest part, if any. But company should pay the claim, there is no doubt of it, if it is not a fraud. Second point is very pertinent, what I could say, that if the company finds that the policy was taken with an intention to defraud the policy, insurers, then what will happen? There is a clause, section 45, where it enumerates if 2 years has elapsed from the date of entering into the contract, then company has to prove that fraud has been effected, that it has a policy holder has defrauded the company, then only that policy claim can be void. Otherwise, the policy should be honored. The claim amount should be honored. But other points are there. Say proof of age or something, these things, it should be standard one. Not non-standard proofs are generally not entertained. Still, when it is found that there is no other choice, then sometimes company also honor this thing. And what are other very important area? Say a policy has been lost. Then the claimant is asking for money. A company takes much care. Sometimes some indemnity bond is to be submitted. Sometimes company says that you should advertise in the newspaper, so that all precautions are taken. It may be that the policyholder has assigned the policy to somebody else. That is why so much caution is taken in case of in case of loss of the policy. So you follow that in case of maturity date, maturity of the policy, definitely insurance company will take the initiative for payment of the policy money. Maybe to the assignee, maybe to the policyholder himself, or maybe to his legal heirs. When he is alive, how it can be paid to legal heirs? That is a very critical question. Say, discharge voucher has been issued after maturity of the policy. But before the check has reached him, policyholder has died. Then naturally, the amount is to be payable to somebody. To whom it will be paid? Only the legal heirs, not the nominee, even nominee heirs. So question may be designed in that way, that in what case, say, matured policy will be paid to legal heirs. This is the situation. Secondly, question may come in that way. Say, a policy has matured. Person has taken loan on some trivial occasion. He has taken loan of 5,000 or something like that. But his policy matures, he will get 50,000 on that. Then how that will be calculated? The amount of money payable at the end of the term minus the loan plus interest, if any, that should be deducted and that will be payable. If the question comes, in which case policyholder asks to advertise in the newspaper, you have got the answer. That is if in case of lost policy. In which case the claimants can be asked to submit indemnity bond, definitely in case of lost policy. And there are so many such questions, as I have given you all the details about presumption of death, about abnormal cases, about suicide. All these, from these parts, the questions may come, and I am confident that you will be able to answer this comfortably. Now, we are going to pinpoint some questions. What is discounted claim? Discounted claim is the claims which are paid within 1 year before the maturity date. Somebody, he has paid all the premiums, because 1 year before premiums are paid in advance, so 1 year before all the premiums will be paid. But he wants to get the claim before the maturity date, within 1 year. That is called discounted claim. So don't be confused. That is discounted claim. Now, say, investigation, you know, that investigation about the claim is made when some abnormal incidents has happened, abnormal death, or early death. Early death has taken place. Within 3 years, early death means within 3 years of the date of commencement of the policy, death has taken place. And you know also what are the total time required, that is maximum time allowed, that is 6 months for investigation. But there may be some circumstances. Question setter may place a very intelligent question. Say, a person who has booked a policy with the company for 30 years, he has continued for 20 years or 25 years. After that, and paid the premium regularly, or paid the premium in time, or even if he has some dues, he has cleared it with all these necessary payments. Being regularly paying the premium, if he dies on the 20th year or 25th year and claim is to be paid to him, then can there be any situation that early, as it happens in early death claim investigation will start? Can there be any situation that even then claim investigation, just like early death claim, may start? The entire question is set to confuse you, my dear friend. What is that? Whether you give due importance on the point of revival or not. Remember, even if you have paid all the dues, maybe in some point of time the policy lapsed and you have revived the policy. And after the revival also, 3 years are taken into account. Because if within 3 years from the date of revival, just like the date of inception of the policy, if death takes place, then also that claim investigation will be taken. And here this is the case. If you can answer the question, maybe there are some possible choices that something or there is one point that the claim was revived, say just 2 years before the death took place, then the answer will be that thing. So, in relation to riders, say somebody, just sees how critical questions may come on claim. Somebody faced one accident. He had some rider with him, the ADB rider, accidental death rider, and he died of the accident. Accident which took place, say, on the 1st January of some year, and he died on the 15th August of that year. That means after more than 6 months, that person died after the accident. My dear friend, here in the rider clause, there is one provision that if somebody dies out of accidental death, then that death should take place within 180 days, that is 6 months from the date of accident. If it happens, it has passed the date, then that rider payment will not be payable to him. In that case, these riders have also certain clauses, conditions and restrictions. So you must be very aware of the questions if it comes in that fashion. Friends, while recapitulating this the salient points of chapter 11, that is on claims. This is chapter 11, I told you. This is chapter 11 on claims. These claims, you should remember that first of all, we will try to define what is claim. Claim is the liability of the insurers to commit, liability of the insurers to fulfill. They have committed some liability, they have taken some consideration, some premium, and commitment has been made that on the happening of an event contingent on the duration of human life, they will pay some amount to the policyholder. And that is called the fulfillment of the commitment of the insurance company is called the claims. It may be death claim, it may be maturity claim, it may be survival benefit, it may be rider claim, may be of so many ways. And requirements of a valid claim, that I have discussed so many things, that in case of a normal death, what may be the claims? It may an abnormal death, some post-mortem report, that is Panchanama, or some FIR, or a coroner's report, or some all these things, forensic report, all these may be necessary in case of abnormal reports that I told you, abnormal deaths. So, these are the things which we need to discuss, that these are the reports that may be necessary in case of abnormal deaths. So, one point I must try to tell you, what are the requirements? Death certificate must be there. And what other things may be in case of abnormal reports, some other requirements may be there. That we have discussed while dealing with claim chapter. Next, we will pass on to identify the invalid claims. What are invalid claims? Maybe there was some fraud was going to be inflicted, and that time insurance company will never pay the amount. That is called invalid claims. What is early death claim? Within 3 years, if it happens, you know it for certain that there are early death claims, then investigation may start, and definitely it means that investigation must be completed as per IR guidelines within 6 months. That is also you know. And difference between void and voidable claims is also I told you. Void claims means when there is absolutely fraud, or there is no insurable interest exists, or at most would have been severely violated. But if it is voidable means there is a difference of age, say 1 year or 2 years. Maybe the company is kind enough to allow the claim to be paid on paid, just taking the extra premium what is needed together with the interest amount, they may pay the claim. That is called voidable claim. And what more implications of indisputability clause in settling claims? Indisputability clause, you know it for certain. If 2 years has elapsed from the date of the policy, then policy cannot be called in question unless it is proved beyond doubt that fraud was inflicted. And within 2 years, if something happens, then company may hold the money in at their end. If they find that there is some misrepresentation or something like that, within that 2 years, definitely they have the authority to keep the money in their custody. So, in these ways, presumption of death, I have told you earlier. Suicide clause, I told you within 1 year from the date of from the date of inception, if there is suicide has taken place, then definitely suicide clause will be applicable and no claim will be paid. So, presumption of death, it means 7 years from the date of the person who has been not heard of for 7 years, then his policy will not be, the claim will not be payable unless court order is issued. After 7 years, the court issued the order, then on the status of the policy, that payment will be made. And you have also heard, I have discussed at length what are the guidelines from IRDA, so that claims are settled within within the shortest period, so that within 30, if they delay more than 30 days, then penalty will be charged, and that penalty I have discussed later on in the in this chapter also we have discussed that penalty is 2% above the bank rate and all these things. So I have discussed at length the claim chapter, my dear friend. Now I think I will pass on to next chapter.